Hey guys, Kate here. Welcome back to Planning Collective. Today we are going to talk all about first looks and why I think you should consider doing one. But before we get into that, let's talk about what a first look is anyway. So, most traditionally, on a wedding day, the couple will not see each other prior to the wedding ceremony. I'm not entirely sure why this is a tradition, but everybody thinks that it is bad luck to see each other prior to the ceremony. And while I do think that it is fun to keep the tradition of not seeing each other until you are fully dressed and ready to go, I think there are two huge reasons why you will want to do a first look on your wedding day. The first one is probably not going to be a surprise. You've probably already looked at your timeline for the wedding day, and you're thinking about whether or not it is better to see each other and do some of your photo sessions before the ceremony, or hold off and do those in between the ceremony and the cocktail hour. So, of course, each wedding is going to be a little bit different in what makes the most sense, but there are traditionally two types of breakdowns when it comes to this timeline and whether or not you're going to have time to do the photos in between the ceremony and the reception or not. So, if you are having your wedding ceremony and wedding reception at two different places. So let's say your church or your wedding ceremony is taking place earlier in the day, and then you have a gap of a couple of hours or so before you and your guests head to another location for the cocktail hour or the reception. From a timeline perspective, that time in between is going to be enough time for you guys to do your photos in there. So my argument for the first look and timing doesn't really apply to you here in this situation. However, if you are having your ceremony, your cocktail hour, and your reception in the same location, you definitely want to consider doing a first look prior to everything starting. It is tempting to think that you'll be able to have time to do some portrait sessions during that cocktail hour, but I can tell you that goes by so quickly, so quickly. Once you're married, you make your way down the aisle, you sign the license, you come back for some of those immediate family photos. Half of your cocktail hour has now gone by, and you don't have any photos with the two of you just as a couple or with your wedding party yet. So in order to make sure you have enough time, you really need to look at doing those photos prior to the ceremony. It's going to make sure that you can enjoy your reception, probably even attend your cocktail hour for at least a little bit, but also make sure that you have enough photos of the two of you on your wedding day, which you definitely will regret it if you don't have some photos of just the two of you. So timing, of course, is a huge reason why I always encourage couples to do a first look, because it does loosen things up quite a bit. Now, if you're in that first group that we talked about where you have some time in between the ceremony and the cocktail hour, you still might want to look at your timeline and consider doing a first look. It really just depends on how much time you have in between and then the travel time that it's going to take you to get from one place to the other. And also if you have any other locations that you want to take pictures at. I will say that I find most couples, generally speaking, will underestimate the amount of time that they allow for either family photos or couple sessions with their wedding party. So make sure you talk to your photographer about how their style is, how big your group is, because of course every wedding group, every wedding party and family grouping is going to be different, and also where your locations are going to be, because that is going to impact that timing greatly. So outside of the timing and how it can loosen up your flow of the wedding day, there is another big reason why I usually will recommend my couples consider doing a first look. And that is because I see that couples that have seen each other prior to the ceremony are much more relaxed. They're able to enjoy the ceremony a lot more because they have gotten that first big rush of anxiousness or worry or whatever it might be. That first flood of emotions has already passed. This is a big moment that you guys have been working on for a long time, whether it's even just a month or a year or 2 years. Seeing each other on your wedding day is a moment that you've thought of probably for a long time. And that's one of the moments on the wedding day that holds the most anticipation. And so if you can do that in a moment that is private to the two of you and your own little paparazzi that's following you around, but really if it's the two of you, it's gonna feel a lot more personal and you're gonna be able to enjoy the actual ceremony a lot more. So if you've ever done any kind of performance, whether it's through sports or theater or whatever it might be, you'll often have that feeling of like, I don't remember what just happened. I just went out there and then the moment was gone. It's going to be very similar to your ceremony. So honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I think a first look is highly recommended, because I see couples are able to enjoy their ceremony a lot more once they've had that moment and they can just focus on the rest of the day. And I hope you're marrying your best friend. So how strange is it if you go all day on your wedding day and only have the last third or quarter of the day to actually spend together? If your ceremony's not till 5 o'clock, you're not going to see your husband or your wife to be until the very end of the day. That seems really strange. You probably want to spend the most time with them on your wedding day, right? Now, of course, every wedding and every timeline is going to be different. If you are a member of the collective, you'll have a few sample timelines to look at, where I have some that include a first look and some that don't. But definitely talk to your photographer and your other vendors that are involved to make sure that you talk about your specific details and what will work best with your logistics and specifics in mind. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.